You were born with individual strengths and a unique purpose. Don't let fears, false beliefs, or life's happenings diminish your influence. It's time to live and lead for impact. Host Kirsten Ross, expert of transformation, will help you defeat the drama and overcome the trauma that can stop you in your tracks. You'll gain focus, find confidence, and take bold action. Unleash passionate, purposeful you. Let's go.
Welcome to Live and Lead for Impact. I'm Kirsten Ross-Vogel, your host, and this is episode 259. I'm super excited to bring on this guest. I can't wait to learn more about his business. His name is Rich Kagan, and he's the founder and president of Last Minute Media Deals, an agency selling primetime ad spots on TV, radio, and podcasts for up to 80% off. Shows would much rather sell these ad spots at a tremendous discount than not at all. And Rich founded Last Minute Media Deals for this exact purpose. So welcome, Rich.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn more about your work. And I'm kind of intrigued. So tell me a little bit more about the work that you do and what impact you're hoping to make.
Okay, sounds great. Well, okay, I just so everybody knows out in your podcast world, I've been in the media business for 30 years. And being in the media business, I'll just give you a quick background. I was the VP of sales and on TV and radio for CBS in Los Angeles for 13 years. And then I was the founder of the Howard Stern, believe it or not, Howard Stern Ad Network. He was syndicated in 60 cities across the country. And I founded that and ran that for 10 years. And then when he decided not to sign again with CBS, he was going to go to SiriusXM Radio. I then took all my clients from my radio and TV sales and started an advertising agency, a direct response agency called Wingman Media. And in that time, when you're a buyer of media and you're a seller of media, you realize that there's a tremendous amount of media that goes unsold every week. And it's like, hotels or airfare or whatever, once, it's gone, and they don't make any money on it. So if you have the way of tapping into these stations, media, TV stations and billboard companies, and when they realize they're not going to sell their commercials the following week, they highly discount it. So I sold my direct response advertising agency in 2017. And as I mentioned, I have 3 kids under 12, as I told you, Kirsten. And so I was going to be retiring in the near future. So I decided to dedicate my life to helping people not overpay for their media, showing them how to buy media for 80% off. And that's where I started the company, lastminute.mediadeals.com.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit more. Give me a sense of what kinds of people can benefit from your service. And can you share a little bit, like kind of what kind of costs are you talking, if that's possible?
Right. That's a good question. I mean, in my, it's usually for national advertisers. So I'm not sure, you have to have the ability to advertise in a lot of cities or nationally. You could buy local markets, but as if you go local, there's just less media. So it's designed for, bigger companies, I guess. And what if you're a national advertiser, you'll never run out of the media. You'll never run out of unsold media. Did that answer your question?
Yes. So we're talking very large companies with a national presence versus maybe someone who's a smaller business, but still, serves people across the nation.
Right. Mom and pop businesses are, normally, I've started with very small businesses that have ended up scaling and becoming, huge businesses. It's just, if you have the ability to scale, if that makes sense, then, we've worked with a lot of companies that started with, a couple people and now they have thousands of employees. So it's just,
well, let's say you're a company that is, selling digital products and you could scale. I mean, would that be?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That would be a perfect clientele for us. It's just because we're all about, I'm like when I said I'm in the direct response advertising business, that means that every ad we create is generated to create an action, which means a phone call or a visit to the website. And every week we're accountable to our clients' cost per leads and our clients' cost per acquisition. And So, that's how we operate. So if you know your cost per acquisition and you're able to achieve that with a small test, then we start, buying more media and then more media, and just a little bits at a time. We test small, and then we get a proof of concept. And then once we get the proof of concept, then we could then that's how we start scaling, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yep. So in general, what kind of average customer value would make sense? Is there a way to talk about that?
Well,
Just so people know if this is a fit for them. So like what someone might spend with you if they end up taking the action.
Well, okay. So here's, and I'm generalizing.
Yeah.
In order to do a test, like in national cable television, or maybe a terrestrial local radio test or a billboard test, you usually, need about a minimum of about $10,000 a week.
Okay.
So that would, and again, our goal is to buy as little media as possible in order to get a proof of concept, to test. And we're all about testing and optimization, if that makes sense. I don't want to throw out a bunch of advertising, terms that if I don't know if your audience.
Yeah. Well, I'm sticking with you, but yeah, I mean, we don't talk probably ad and digital marketing kinds of terminology a lot on the podcast, but if people are in the space or have been doing much advertising, they're gonna know the concepts. So so tell me, is there a specific experience that motivated you to go this direction, or what created this idea for you to make this impact by providing lower cost media?
Right. Well, no, as I mentioned, when I was in sales, I knew there was a lot of media that goes unsold. And when I was on my own agency, and, and then the fact that I'm accountable for my clients' cost per acquisition, which is basically the bottom line for any business. So when you're accountable to get your clients the best cost per acquisition, it helps to buy the media for a lot less money. So what happened was, when I owned my own agency, we were buying media that we thought was a good deal, on a CPM standpoint. And, and we would get a certain cost per acquisition for our clients based on how much we were spending for the media. But I knew, based on my experience, that there was a bunch of media that was going unsold every week that I wasn't tapping into. So if you're trying to get your best cost per acquisition, it helps to get the media 80% cheaper, because that's, basically your cost of getting a client. So that's why, when I own my own agency, when we started buying media that it's not going to be sold the following week, we call ourselves the price line of media. All of a sudden we were taking our clients' cost per acquisition and lowering it tremendously. So everybody was, they were really happy about that.
Yeah. Now you keep saying that you're accountable. So how, is there a consequence? How are you accountable?
Yes.
Is this in word or deed or action or what?
Right. No, it's a good question. It's a good question, Chris. We're accountable because if we don't get a great cost per acquisition for our clients, we get fired. That's our accountability. So my job is to get the best cost per acquisition for our clients and then scale them accordingly. That's my job. That's what I do. I grow businesses.
Yeah. Now, thinking back to some of the companies that you worked with, what's one impact that you can think of that really fuels your passion and gets you excited about the work that you're doing?
Well,
tell us the story.
Well, I love, when I owned my own advertising agency, I had a business partner. He's a great guy. We were completely opposite personalities. He was the operations guy, and I was the chief creative officer.
That's a good thing, by the way. You need both of those, to put my leadership coaching hat on.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was
appreciate those differences versus creating friction from them. Yes, that's a great thing. All right, sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
No, it was a really great partnership because we just had completely opposite skill sets, and we didn't, he did his job and he did a great job, and I did my job, and it worked really well. And we ended up selling our agency in 2017. But so I was really passionate about creative. To me, there's nothing better than creating a commercial that your clients love and that gets results, that gets phone calls and gets, action to your website. And I've been doing it for a long time. And, I've considered myself a master copywriter. I've had a lot of experience at it. So it really is, that's my passion. As far as the media is important, you obviously got to get that as inexpensively as possible. but the commercial, you have to have a great commercial that generates, actions.
So can you think of one company, one client, kind of talk about the journey that you took them on, like from point A to point Z, one that really fuels your passion, the difference that you made for that business?
Sure. I mean, there's I've been doing this for a long time, so there's so many, but one particular, I don't know if you ever listen, do you ever listen to Sirius XM radio?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there's one particular guy, his name is Chuck. He owns a company called Wesley Financial. They get people out of timeshares. And are you familiar with that ad? Have you ever heard that ad?
I feel like I have. Yeah.
He spends a lot of money on Sirius XM radio, and he's a perfect example of someone that literally was a startup business. And I really like this guy because he's got a great story, and that's what advertising is all about. If you have a great story, and his story was really, he was a timeshare salesperson, and he saw the errors of his ways. He realized that he was ripping people off and lying to them. And then he decided to make amends. He was going to help people get out of their timeshares, people that had been ripped off. So he had a mission, and he was trying to make up for what he had done wrong in his past. And that mission became a multi-million dollar venture for him. So so what I love doing is I interview them and I capture the story, and then I take the story and I put it into commercials. And he happened to have a really great voice, and he was a natural. I'm a big believer I'm a big believer in having the client, the founder or the CEO doing their own commercial. And he was a natural. So he started doing his own commercials, and now the guy is, not only does he have a multi-million dollar venture that he's helping people, he's also he's so popular now because of his advertising. He's thinking about running for governor of Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
So it's a great story on a lot of levels.
Well, yeah. And I'm sure he's helping people get out of some of those deals. I don't know if any of them are really good. I don't know. I know I've seen some that are not good, and I've been on the receiving end of those hardcore salespeople that don't want you to leave.
That's right. Oh yeah, we've all
promised them like 30 minutes and and they're going to give you a breakfast, and oh my gosh, they don't want you to leave. But
right. So this guy is a really great story. He saw the errors of his ways, and he felt guilty, and this was his way of making amends. And then it actually turned into an incredible business. And we were right there at the beginning. He bought maybe a week's worth of advertising as a test, and then he saw it generated a lot of leads, and then we just went from there. And now he's one of the biggest clients.
That's great. Yeah, I love that story. Thank you. See, and I think it's so important for ourselves as entrepreneurs to think about those stories, because that can give us that tenacity through, when we reach hiccups in life or business, but also it can be so inspiring. And what I love about your specific story is, because you helped him, he's now helping so many others. So that whole ripple effect.
Yeah. I have another good story if you have time.
Yeah, sure.
Because I like the human aspect of some of, I have another client, but he's only in Southern California. It's a mattress client called Sit and Sleep. And believe it or not. And when I first met him, he had one store in Culver City. And he was basically poor. He was broke. His business wasn't doing well. And he, and this was when Howard Stern was about to be syndicated to Los Angeles for the first time. And I kept going into a store, and I kept saying, his name was Larry, the owner. I kept saying, Larry, I'm telling you, you got to try to advertise on Howard Stern. It'll change your life. It'll take your business to another level. And he didn't have a lot of money, and he kept saying no. He kept saying no. And I really believed in it, because Howard Stern had, in New York, had taken a mattress company from zero to $40 million in a couple of years. And I knew that if this guy, who had one store called Sit and Sleep, if he advertised on Howard, I was a huge believer that it would take his business to another level. So anyway, long story short, I probably went into his business 20 times, and he kept saying no. And it was an August day, and it was really hot. And I wore a suit and tie at the time. And so he said no one more time. I walked out to my car and I saw that someone had broken into my car. And it, like, you know, my window was shattered. They took my briefcase, they took my radio, and you know, at the time I had one of those huge Motorola phones. You remember those things?
Oh yeah. Oh, the bag phone or just the big
Yeah, the big
phone?
one.
Yeah.
You know, this was right when cell phones were
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
So I walked back into a store and I said, "Hey, Larry, can I use your phone?" And he said, "Why? What happened?" I said, "Somebody broke into my car." And he said, "You're kidding me." I said, "No." So he said, "Okay, Rich." He goes, "You know what? I'll do you a favor. I will test Howard Stern for 2 weeks." And I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah," because he felt bad for me. So what happened was the first 2 weeks he started advertising on Howard Stern. His business went through the roof, and because I got Howard Stern to endorse him and say how great he was, and so because of that, because of him being, you know, because he felt bad for me and he was being a kind person, he ended up becoming a multimillionaire. And fast forward, he now has 44 stores in Southern California.
Wow.
A multi-millionaire.
That's awesome. But I have to ask, how many times have you used that since? Hey, my car got broken. I'm just kidding.
We call
It worked pretty well.
The crowbar close, we call it.
No, I love that. That's great. I have, this is totally, and I'm not going to go into the whole story, but my husband created an app years ago that went viral and it was a super fun few days. And one of the big things is all these people started messaging. We were watching it like hit the different media, you know, social media sites and just roll. And then it was going into different languages. But anyway, and then we heard from a bunch of people that Howard Stern had talked about it on his, on his show. Yeah, that was really fun.
So Howard Stern, you know, he was controversial. Some people loved him, some people hated him. But what he was a phenomenal marketer. He was genius when it came to marketing. And when he did a commercial for one of my clients, when he endorsed somebody, their business just transformed overnight.
Yeah, that's great.
So it was fun to have that happen, to be part of that.
Yeah, that's really fun. So tell me, for you personally, what's been your biggest internal or external challenge, and how did you overcome it? To either transitioning from your last business to this, or I don't know, throughout your career?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. The great question. When I owned my own agency, we had at one point we were up to about 48 people, and we got really big. But what's challenging, and this is something that, you know, every business has this challenge, is growing businesses and able, you know, because the more people you have, in our case, the less money we were making. You know, it just became a point where the bureaucracy, and if you don't have the systems in place, sometimes growing a business is very difficult in order to actually continue to be profitable. So now, when I sold my company, my goal is to, you know, I work independently and then I outsource all my, you know, whatever I need, I outsource it. So I don't have employees now.
Mm-hmm.
That's my, you know, so it's a different way of doing business. Outsourcing, you know, it's a variable expense. When you own your own agency and you start hiring people, you have, you know, it becomes a fixed expense. And so when I sold my agency, I decided to do it this way, and it's working out really well.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you're speaking right into my work now. I have my 7 keys to building your high performing team.
Great.
Which to help, like, as you're scaling, make sure that you're bringing on the right people, onboarding them well, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm a proponent of, you know, whether sometimes it's just gig workers and you just need them for a quick, you know, specific project, or maybe they're a contract person, but they're going to be with you longer term, or part-time or full-time. So there's a lot of different ways to bring people onto your team.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a balancing act. It's because obviously what happens is you get a big client and then you want to service the client as, you know, well as possible. So you have to bring on more people. And then sometimes in the advertising business, you lose the client and you have all these people. It's very challenging.
Yeah, the ebbs and flows of business. Yep.
Yeah.
And I know, like, in those agencies, and I've worked with some like digital marketing companies, you know, it just gets complex, all the different pieces and the flow of work and the project management, really, of, you know, making sure that all along the way, everyone's hitting all those deadlines so that you're serving your clients well.
Right. And so what happens is you want new business. Everybody wants new business, but sometimes it's at the expense of your current clients, because you're chasing more business, and then you stop, actually focusing on your current clients. So I kind of learned from that. So I'm able to scale, and then, depending on the growth of my clients.
Yeah. So you gotta make the sales and then service those sales well, ongoing. Yes. That is a challenge. So, how do you stay motivated and moving during tough times?
Well, I have 3 kids under 12. So that keeps me motivated. I love what I do, and I love it's still to this day, there's nothing more satisfying for me than to have a client actually be successful and get the phone calls and say, "Hey, Rich, oh my God, we have so much business. This is fantastic." So that keeps me motivated. Just the results of my clients keeps me motivated. And and I love what I do. So that alone, I'm really happy. And I've created a situation where, when I sold my own agency, the reason I sold it was because I wanted to spend more time with my kids. I'm an older dad. I had my first kid at 45. And so it was great because I was able to now, I'm able to go to their sporting events and, go to their practices and spend a lot more time with my kids, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's why I became a business owner. I mean, it's been, 20 or so years for me, full-time business owner, but yeah, I rarely missed any kind of sporting event or anything. They're grown now, and boy, I don't regret a minute. I celebrate. So yeah, it's so important to get to those events if you can, for sure. And again, I have to say, it sounds like we need to stay in touch, because if you're creating all this extra business for your clients, they're going to need to build the teams and be great leaders. And so there might be some collaborative opportunities for us down the road.
Kirsten, I'm telling you, the most challenging thing I've ever experienced is managing people. It's really, really difficult. And, and I'm not good at it. It's funny because my business partner, again, we were opposite personalities, and he was, I guess, a little too stringent, or whatever the word is. And I was too nice. It has to be somewhere in the middle, and it's very difficult to get to that point where you're able to, do both.
Yes, but it's doable.
Kids, the same thing as raising.
It's funny that you say that, because, I've spoken on the topic of leadership and communication for actually around 30 years. And, I use a lot of parenting stories to illustrate leadership, because they're a lot the same. So for instance, I talk about when my kids were little, and I'd take them to the fast food play places to get all their little boy energy out, and that they had dropped the job behavior in a good way. Because I would yell, "Hey boys, it's time to go." And they would run to my table and say, "Thank you for bringing me, Mommy." And all the other parents would look at me like with these wide eyes, like, "How'd you make that happen?"
Yeah, that's what I would have done too. How did you make that happen, Kirsten?
Well, there's some leadership tricks happening there. And what they didn't see is now I always have to preface, I had a huge goal to never have to retrieve a child from one of those, claustrophobia and all that stuff. And and I made it. They're 23 and 21, never had to retrieve a child. And I was a single mom for a good period. So usually I was there by myself. So if they did head off and take off into there, I wasn't gonna be able, I was gonna have to go get them. So so it's very specific in this one arena. I wish I would have utilized this with such specificity elsewhere, but in the car before we went in, I would go over, what are the rules? I have to eat my lunch before I play. Perfect. What else? I have to play nice. Great. What else? When you say it's time to go, I can't throw a temper tantrum, and I have to come and say, "Thank you for bringing me, Mommy." Great. What happens if you don't? I can't come back for a really long time. Perfect.
Consequences. It's brilliant.
But there's a third key there.
Oh.
So expectations, clear expectations, consequences. Of course, in the business world, you wouldn't say for a very long time, right? The consequence would have to be but it worked for the kids.
Right.
But the third thing was, I had to be a mom who they knew would follow through. And that's a lot of times what's missing in leadership.
I agree 100% with you.
So I've been telling that story. Again, they're grown now. I started telling it when they were little. I was probably still using the technique when I first started sharing the story. So anyway, I digress, but I love that you're talking about leadership. As you can tell, that's my favorite topic. It's what lights me up.
It is the most difficult thing, in my opinion. Managing people and being a leader, a good leader, is really difficult.
Well, you know what's cool? I love that you're saying that. I'm grateful that you're saying that, but I have to just say, most often, believe it or not, it's identifying the gap. Like, what is the gap of what you would like to be as a leader and what you are, and then minimizing that gap. And almost always, it's honestly just a few minor tweaks in mindset and communication and action.
Okay, well, good. We will have another conversation.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so as we finish up for the day, tell me, what words of wisdom do you have for others who want to make their unique impact in the world?
That's a good question.
Or we can say build their business.
Well, it's a good question. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. My first thing would be to say something that everybody says, which I don't want to do that, which is, do what you love, which is, everybody says that, and it's easier.
That's true.
It's easier said than done. I mean, it's, but. And I'm lucky because I got a degree in marketing from San Diego State. I'm an Aztec, and I literally went into the business that I got my degree in, and I've always wanted to be in the advertising business. So I was lucky for me that I fell into something that I love, and that's, I guess the key to everything is to do what you're passionate about, what you love. And then as far as I think your leadership skills, if you building credibility and trust. I've been in sales for 30 years, so it's all about trust. Once you establish trust, everything is easy after that. And how to establish trust is being a person of your word, and the one thing that people 90% of people don't do is over deliver. Over delivering nowadays is like shocking to people. If you actually do more than you promise, you would be in the top echelon of businesses. People won't forget people that over deliver. And I'm
shaking my head. Yes. I feel like right now, like if they just do what they say, or if you just see a little discretionary effort or some creative problem solving, you're like, yes.
I mean, over delivering is so rare and so powerful.
Oh, I agree. So, and that is all about expectation management too. So be really intentional about the promises and commitments that you make up front, and don't allow yourself that wiggle room of, oh, I'll figure it out later, or I'll just say yes, even though I know there's no chance that I can get this done because I want to make them happy right now. No, it's much easier to be truthful up front, have them maybe be not quite as delighted in the moment, but ultimately a much more loyal client or customer.
Absolutely. And I feel, I hope my reputation has preceded myself. I hope I have the reputation of a person who's, a guy that over delivers and is a man of his word, a person of his word. And you do those two things, you'll be very successful, in my opinion.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much, Rich, for joining me. I've really enjoyed our conversation and learning more about your business and the journey that you've taken.
Thank you. It's been nice. Thanks a lot, Kirsten.
Yeah. And I love the stories that you shared too, and the difference that you've made for some business owners. So if you want to connect with Rich, we'll have his LinkedIn profile on today's show notes. You can find that by going to defeatthedrama.com, click on the podcast tab, and go to episode 259. And again, his name is Rich Kagan. That's RichKagan. And you will find that LinkedIn link. That was a little hard for me to say. LinkedIn
Kirsten,
link.
Should I tell everybody my phone number or email address?
Oh, sure. You can do that. Yeah. And actually, if you send them to me too, we can add them right to the show notes. But yeah, go ahead and share those.
Well, because that's another thing I believe in. I will answer my phone 24 hours a day. I'm one of these people that I'm on anytime. You can call me anytime. My phone number is 310-420-0490. That's my cell number. And my email is Rich.
Say that again.
Okay. My cell number, and again, I'll answer my phone 24 hours a day, believe it or not, 310-420-0490.
Okay.
And then it's my email is rich@lastminute.mediadeals.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, those will be in the show notes as well. So thank you again, Rich, for everything
That's
that
really
you
nice.
shared.
Thanks, Kristen.
Yeah, I hope that you get some great contacts from today's episode. And, we ended up a little bit on my favorite topic, which is, of course, all things leadership. And if you're struggling in building your team, leading your team, getting them aligned with the goals that you're trying to create for your business, then I encourage you to go to myimpactacademy.com/join. What you'll find there, 24/7 immediate access to all kinds of digital resources on everything communication, leadership, customer service, family business strategies, personal success strategies, videos, audios, and PDF downloads that I've created over about 20 years. So a wealth of information. You get 2 weeks free, and then it's just $47 a month investment after that. And guess what? You also get time with me twice a month. We get together. It's great networking. We strategize and a lot of great coaching. So please check that out. Again, it's myimpactacademy.com/join and get out there, make your bigger, bolder impact. The world is waiting. Thanks for listening.